episode of Mouse Minds. I really don't like my voice today. I have like an echo. This is weird. I don't know why my voice has such an echo today. I apologize for that. I'm getting like an echo, and I don't really know why. And I'm probably going to edit all of this out because I have an echo. I can hear it in my headphones, and I really
Now
don't.
this side you sound okay.
That's so weird. I can hear it like rawr. It's like an echo. Huh.
It's gonna bug you the whole darn show now.
Oh, it's gonna bug me. Hello. Okay, there it sounds better there. I don't know what's going on. I've lost the plot. It's like when I get close, there's an echo. This is wild. Well, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Mouse Minds. We are here live on YouTube and live for you on Facebook as well. And we certainly appreciate you guys joining us here this week. And I don't know why an echo in my voice, but there is. So we're just going to roll with it because this is really
See,
good.
now you're sounding terrible because on my side you're breaking up.
How do I sound now?
Now you sound like you're in a gymnasium.
Hello. What?
Taking me back to junior high dodgeball.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here with this thing. I'm just gonna turn my. There we go. I don't know that there's still an echo. I'm hearing like a reverb.
Still choppy.
Still choppy. Oh my gosh, I don't want to be choppy. I have no idea. I've lost the plot.
It sounds better
this
now.
one. I'm just gonna go.
Cut the first 3 minutes. We can't both be named Michael.
I don't know why I'm named Michael.
I was going to say, you can rename yourself.
I don't know why there is an echo. This echo is going to drive me nuts. I don't know what is going. There's a loop back issue somewhere. Hold on 1 second.
You're back to being Robert.
I'm back. Maybe to you. Well, yeah, I did change my name. Hold on 1
yes,
second.
name's back. But now.
Input. Okay. Hello. I don't know. I don't know. There's some sort of. There's some sort of. I don't know. Well, we are live here on YouTube. For you guys, and we are streaming on Facebook as well. Someone is watching us. Hello to those who are watching us on Facebook. I apologize for all the technical difficulties. I never have technical difficulties, I swear. But we were trying to get audio in the background, so we'll continue on in just a second here. Give me 1 quick second here, and we'll continue this on, and we'll start over and do this again. Hold on 1 second.
We appreciate your patience. We appreciate you all coming to.
Hello. Still an echo. I don't know. All right, so we're just going to continue on. I'm just going to muscle through this echo. It's going to give me a headache. But all right. All right, guys. So we are live here on Facebook for you as well. So I want to say, let's get into it here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to this week's episode of Mouse Minds. We are live for you here on YouTube and streaming live for you on Facebook. And I know I promised you that I get a Facebook page this week, and I will work on that tonight, actually. So, and I don't know what is going on here, but my computer keeps trying to leave pages and do all kinds of different things, and I'm confused. So if I randomly disappear, I honestly don't know why I randomly disappeared, because my laptop is all my electronics are possessed tonight. I don't really know what's going on. I have, being as much of a gadget hound as I am, sometimes I just have days where things just don't work, and I don't know why. But we are here live for you on YouTube and Facebook. I am joined with Michael this week. Hello, Michael.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hopefully my audio is okay because we
Your
can't
audio
both be
sounds
off.
amazing.
Very good. We can't both be
You
off.
honestly, you have probably the best audio I think out of all of us, which is weird because I have this nice setup, and your audio is always really good. So,
This is just some random headset I bought for work. So it's,
so we are. Lisa is supposed to be joining us soon. She was the one that actually came up with the topic for this week's episode. So I thought we would discuss rainy days at the parks. So that was a great topic that she brought up. Maybe share some tips and other things that we have for a rainy day at the Disney parks. Um, we, we've all been there, especially in the summer, where you have those afternoon showers, and you have that couple of hours in the afternoon where it is just pouring rain, and it's like a monsoon, and storms are here, and in the summertime. I mean, honestly, to be fair with you, as a native Floridian, I will tell you that the summertime rains don't necessarily compare to the rain that we have in January and February, because it gets really, really, really intense and it sticks around for the whole day. January or in summer months, we do get amazing, crazy storms in the afternoon, but they're usually gone and quick, and we get them done and over with really quickly. And it's always nice because after it rains, it kind of cools down a little bit, so you get a nice break from there. But I wanted to talk about some of our favorite rainy things to do in the parks, and some rainy day things that you may have not known about. And I will kick things off here because I've been thinking about this a little bit today. And one of my favorite things about rainy days at the parks is, well, especially at Magic Kingdom, is the rainy day cavalcade. And if you have not seen the rainy day cavalcade at Magic Kingdom, you are missing out, because it is fantastic. And what they do when the park is essentially rained out. Now, if it's pouring rain, they'll just cancel the 3 o'clock parade altogether. But if it is lightly raining, or if it is just rain and everything is wet, they will bring out the rainy day cavalcade, which is essentially a bunch of characters come out. There some of them are in rainy gear. You have cast members in rainy day gear, and instead of dancing per se, they kind of just walk around the park and do the little parade route, and then you have the rainy day cavalcade. And then I believe there's a car too. I believe one of the cars comes out too. It's been a while since I've seen the rainy day cavalcade, but I can tell you it is fantastic, and it's one of those things that, because you only get it on rainy days, it's kind of fun to see, and have that there for you. So it is really neat to see that rainy day cavalcade. Now, I will go to you, Michael, next. Do you have any amazing things to do during the rain?
See, I think a lot of people all head for those indoor activities. If you're not the kind of person that will go to um, either PhilharMagic or Carousel of Progress, Hall of Presidents, this is your opportunity, because as you said, in the summer, you're only getting 20 minutes, a half hour of downpour. But if it's one of those days where it's raining all day, you might have to pivot with your plans. But I mean, maybe that's when you grab your lunch. Maybe that's when you sit and just relax, start taking in the sights. What's nice about that cavalcade, it's not as crowded as your standard parade, because a lot of people will hightail it back to their resort. And the folks that do leave are not going to run back immediately. So sometimes the best thing to do is wait it out and then see if that diminishes some of the wait times for the rides, because folks will leave. And if they leave, are they necessarily going to come back to that park? Are they going to go to a different park? So you might be okay for the first hour or two if you stick it out. So, just find that indoor place, go sit somewhere and talk with the family.
That is definitely correct. It is a great observation. Doing that in the parks and taking that time to, wait it out. You're going to see, especially in the afternoon, because people may come back. One of the nice things people like about having a resort at Disney, let's say you're going to Magic Kingdom and you're staying at the Grand Floridian, is being able to have that quick access to your room, go back to your room and rest, and rest for a couple hours, and then go back to the park and finish out the nighttime and really enjoy the fireworks and so on and so forth. So, a lot of people will do that, and that leaves that time open for you there, where it just the park kind of clears out a little bit, and those attractions kind of die down, especially those attractions that are that shut down during the weather, like let's say a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or something like that. When those attractions reopen, you get right over there. You could get right on. So you do have a lot of play when it comes to the weather. Now, I will say that the Disneyland experience versus the Walt Disney World experience when it rains is completely different, because fortunately on this coast we have a lot of indoor attractions, because this Walt Disney World was kind of built for bad weather because it happens so frequently. But in California, they really don't, Southern California, they don't really have, too many bad rainy days, and when they do, it's pretty bad. So I can say I've been at Disneyland once or twice when the rain was really coming down, and a lot of the park shuts down. A lot of those attractions are outdoors. And a lot of the park does shut down because it's just not something that they normally have over there. So, definitely keep that in mind if you're going out there, especially on a rainy day. Definitely keep that in mind, because a lot of the attractions do shut down for that. But I will say, going back to Florida and rainy day, you're right. A lot of people rush to the indoor attractions and try to get out of the rain. A lot of people do rush to the restaurants too to get food and kind of wait out the rain and so on and so forth. But if you're kind of willing to wait in the general vicinity and find kind of a spot where you can get out of the rain but still be in the general vicinity of the attraction that you want to ride, you have a really good shot of getting back on there. Hold on one second here. Really quickly here.
So while Robert's doing that, the one thing I will recommend, and sometimes it's hard when the kids are bugging you, but if you're going to be one of those people who runs into the gift shops and the retail stores, and you figure, all right, we'll wait it out here, don't be tempted to go buying everything right at that moment, especially if it's midday, because you now have to carry around everything that you probably would have bought on the way out, when you don't have to carry it to anywhere except for your resort. So don't go buying big stuff, heavy stuff, anything that you don't want to have to lug around for the rest of your time in the parks.
And it's real easy to do. And to be honest with you, during the rain like that, being in the shops is probably the last place I want to be.
Yep.
Because you've got a bunch of people in there that are wet. They've been running around in the heat all day. The stores are crowded. There's people just everywhere. So, and then, it's just, people are cranky because it's raining and they're wet and so on and so forth. So, the stores are probably the last place I want to be in when it's raining. I think I'd much rather be at a restaurant, at one of the counter service locations, underneath some sort of overhang, like the breezeways at Epcot, maybe sitting in one of those breezeways and just kind of waiting out the rain in there and kind of standing there, because it gets those shops. You think, especially like at Magic Kingdom, the Emporium only has so much space.
It's narrow, it's packed.
Exactly.
So you have shoppers people that were coming in, got caught in the rain on Main Street. That's where they're headed. You have folks trying to leave the park, but they don't want to walk down Main Street, so you're going to cut through the Emporium since it goes all the way through. So you've got a mix of people. If you're in Epcot in the wrong area, or I guess any of the parks, you could be far away from any sort of cover. Yeah.
And I don't know of a nicer way to say this, but the smells are not fantastic when you have a bunch of soggy, wet, stinky. I hate to say stinky, but when people get soggy wet like that, and they've been playing in the rain and running and sweating all day. It's not. It's being that close to people is not pleasant. So try to find either those attractions that keep you out of the rain, for a longer period of time that you can just kind of sit in, or like places that maybe people don't necessarily go to, like Magic Kingdom, for example. Tomorrowland Terrace, right there in between Main Street and Tomorrowland, where they do the dessert parties, is an excellent spot because no one really thinks to go there because there's no restaurant there. And maybe at night it's not because they're preparing for the dessert parties, but during the day, if it's raining, by all means go out, and there's plenty of tables in there. There's plenty of seating in there. It's an excellent location just to sit and hang out. And every park has an excellent location for that. I'm trying to think. Epcot, I think, would be more so like the breezeways. Now, when they open up the world, oh my god, I can't think of the name of it now. The new building, the Celebration Plaza. Can't think of the name of it now. I'm having a mental moment. But when they open that up, that'll be a nice spot for that. Or like, let's say, for example, Hollywood Studios. Checking out, possibly checking out like Indiana Jones during that time or something like that. That's a great spot too. So there's a lot of
show in the rain. I don't even know if it's something they can. I haven't been to that in years.
I would think. I don't know. I would think
you got
so.
performers.
I think it's all covered.
Safe. Yeah,
but I mean, at the very least, I think you could sit in there. I don't think they close it off, so you could at least sit in there,
right,
and then enjoy the covered space because they're really. I'm trying to think at Hollywood Studios where there's some stage shows. I don't know. Really, where else
safety
would
of
go?
The performers.
Yeah,
you could possibly go into at least an Epcot.
I don't know if they do that one in the rain. That's a good point. But they still have the seating probably available.
As you said, the seating is there. The same thing with the American Gardens Theater. You could just go sit in there in Epcot. Best place in Hollywood Studios. Go.
That's
sit
a
down.
great idea. But the only problem with Communicore Hall. Sorry, Communicore Hall.
That's the new one. Yep.
But the only problem with the American Gardens Theater is only like so much of it is covered. It only goes so far before. Another great spot would be inside the American Adventure. You can actually go in there and sit. Last time I was there, they actually put chairs in the little enclave there before you get into the main area there. So you could just go inside that door there and there'd be chairs right there. And that's a pretty big space where you could just kind of hang out. And
again, that might be the time you finally get to see the show. If it's something you've been putting off and it's boring and you're there, you know what? Let's invest the 30 minutes and just do it. Stay dry.
Now, if it was, what would you say for Animal Kingdom? I'm trying to think in my head where you could go other than the stage shows. I can't think of any massively kind of covered area.
They're not huge, but you've got that seating area outside Pizza Safari.
Yeah.
Or by Flame Tree Barbecue.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But it's also open, so if that rain's coming down sideways, everyone's going to be packed in the middle where the rain's coming in. Right, but you don't have that unless you go over toward is it Restaurantosaurus or whatever it is by Dinosaur. You've got that big indoor restaurant there.
What is the bar next to Tusker House? That's a good spot over there. Right. That's a nice covered area.
You also have to hope that nobody beat you there first, because once these things start filling in.
I'm missing a big one here. The conservation station, Rafiki's Planet Watch.
But you got to get on the train in the rain.
True.
Walk the whole way. So if you're there already,
true.
Fine. But I wouldn't recommend heading there.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. You do have to get there. You do have to go a ways to get there. But once you're there,
once you're there, you're fine. That train is open in the front.
Yeah. So that's true. I can't think of really anything else at Animal Kingdom to really avoid the rain. That's a really tough park because most of it is kind of open and airy because it is an animal park. Even Pandora is pretty open. Unless you go into the restaurants.
Yep.
But even the gift shops. I mean, the problem with the gift. I mean, I know it's like every time it rains, everyone runs into the gift shops, and it's so like it's like anxiety city. It's just so cramped. It's just the smells are just. It's hard to describe. It's really hard to describe. You have to experience it once. But
I think folks might be running to the gift shop to go buy their poncho.
yeah,
But yeah, that the restaurant that I've never eaten there, it's at Satuli Canteen or whichever. One of those is huge.
Satuli is fantastic, but then again, they only have so much indoor seating, and then they have the outdoor, which is
it's still open.
covered, but it's still outdoors. So like if the rain's coming in sideways, you can still get rather wet from sitting out there. So, but to be fair, the food at Satuli Canteen is really good. So if you do go that way, go there. The food is really fantastic. For vegetarians and people who eat meat as well. But that's a good spot. But yeah, and I'm trying to think of Hollywood, what would be other than like Indiana Jones, like if they let you in with the rain, I can't think of another like good spot to really like just sit and get out of the rain there. There's really not a lot of like large spaces. I mean, other than hanging out in the gift shops, but those gift shops, I mean, they're so tiny. When you get that many people in there, they just get so tiny. And welcome, Lisa. I forgot Lisa just joined.
Hi there.
So, welcome.
I was trying to catch up with where you guys were in your conversation.
So yes, we are talking about. Well, you brought up the topic, which was the what to do on a rainy day at the parks. And we were talking about things such as, hanging out in locations like Tomorrowland Terrace, or, what were we talking about? Well, Epcot.
Suitable places to hide from the rain.
Suitable places to hang out. The breezeways at Epcot.
Temporary.
Like that.
Temporary.
Yeah,
I do this so often in the summer. You think I would have these things like imprinted in my brain because I do it every year, and I've been doing it for years and years and years. But I just, I guess in the moment you kind of just run to the closest place.
Right. Yeah. You're not trekking across any park to go to a certain area.
Right. Well, and there used to be, Interventions was a great place to duck in and hide at one point. Like
yeah,
you could spend all day there, and like on rainy days, often that's where I took the kids. But there aren't as many places to duck in like that as there used to be. So, however, I was trying to think of, have you gone through all the parks?
We've gone through all of them, but but feel free to chime in with your tips.
Well, I still like Epcot because things like the Mexican pavilion, like you have a lot of indoor things you can see and do.
You don't think that gets tight in there though? I mean, when you get a lot of people in there, especially with the line, because you have the line for Cava Tequila, you have the people at the restaurant, and then you have the hordes of people that are looking at the Mexican merchandise. I don't know, Michael. What do you think? Do you think that one gets tight?
I want to say we all fooled into thinking it's much bigger.
I agree.
It really is because of the outdoor space. Like, it's going to be a whole big marketplace. But then when you get in there, it's already crowded. There are times when it's tight just going down those ramps while people are coming up the ramps. If they had a one-way down, one-way up, that would make more sense, but they don't. You do have a couple of drunk people in there. Sometimes now if everyone's on the line for the boat ride, that tends to back up into the pavilion if it's too long. But I mean, it's once you're there, after that, there's really no indoor space except for the little shops that large.
Yeah.
If you want to go on a ride, you got to go stand on the frozen line.
I mean, it does have the ride, which can keep you busy for a little while, and you can go to Cava del Tequila, but Cava del Tequila is very tiny. If you've never been there, it is very tiny. They have the bar section, which everyone is kind of shimmying past you to get to the tables. And then when they get to the tables, there's not a lot of room. I know the last time I went to got a table there, I was literally standing because there was no chair for me. But this was a while ago, so I mean, I haven't been there in a few years, so I don't know for sure what it's like now. I assume it. I mean, they haven't expanded the pavilion, but I don't know.
I mean, if you're, and it doesn't take that long, but if you're a parent and you're buying one of the pavilions, hit the kid cot stations. You know, and you'll start with one, and maybe that will inspire the kids to go to each one as you're going through. Start something new. I mean, it takes a minute and a half to do whatever little activity they have. You might have to do it a couple of times to wait out that 30-minute rain. It's an option.
I mean, the nice thing is Epcot. Well, now that they have festivals all year long, so you have the Odyssey now too.
Yep.
At Epcot, that's a good spot. They leave that open, and then once we have Communicore Hall, that'll be a good spot.
I can't tell how big that building is going to be. I'm trying to see from the footprint, but
I mean,
it difficult to tell.
It's got to be pretty big because they're doing like a stage show in there, so it's got to be pretty big. My favorite spot was the old hallway that used to be in the back of Communicore or Innovations, whatever you want to call it. But it was that spot there where they had one side was the characters and then the other side was like a long hallway. That was my favorite.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was great.
And I liked that hallway, and we would hang out there, and you know, as I've shared, we've gotten our snacks and would do that. But honestly, you can spend a ton of time, not I say tons and tons of time, but a lot of time over at the land or Finding Nemo, looking at all the fish, like all those things that you might just zip on by on a hot day if you're, you know, running place to place. You can spend a lot of time exploring and watching the movies and actually enjoying a lot of the indoor activities at Figment. Like there are places, or even Mission Space. At the end of Mission Space, there's that play type area. So there's several little spots around Epcot. I feel like you can jump in and hide from the rain. I still think it's a good rainy day park.
Oh yeah, Epcot is a fantastic rainy day park because I think Epcot and Magic Kingdom are the top two because you have a lot of spaces that you can kind of hide in. I think the least, if I had to make a list of like out of the four, I think the number 4 would be Animal Kingdom because I just can't think, other than like the shows, of like general spaces where you can really just kind of congregate, and because most of the other spaces are open or open air. And then Hollywood Studios, like I can think of a few places, but nothing too crazy. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 spots. And then Epcot, I can think of a ton. Magic Kingdom, I can think of a ton.
I think I would be in the same exact order as you said, because you can go meet the characters and spend some time inside watching some of the shows at Hollywood, but I definitely agree that Animal Kingdom's at the bottom of the list unless you truly are going show to show.
And the problem with doing that is you have to exit the show, and then if you want to get back into the show, you have to get back into the show, and then it's like, it's, while you're doing that, you're you're just going out into the rain again and then going back in there. You're not sitting in a spot where you can literally sit and wait the rain out. You're,
Right.
I mean, I'll admit, like to Michael's point, in the summertime, the storms last 20 minutes or something. They're not crazy. Now, in the wintertime, in January, February, the storms last like all day. It'll rain
Right.
off and on all day. That's just the way it works. But in the summertime, it's 30 minutes an hour tops, and then you're good to go.
Mhm.
And that's why these spaces work. And if you can really, to Michael's point, like I said, if you could really wait it out, you can really get some great, get some time on some of the other attractions that you might have missed, and get on fairly quickly.
Right. A lot of people leave. A lot of people leave.
Now, Lisa, have you seen? I mentioned this at the beginning. It's probably my favorite thing to do in the rain at Walt Disney World is seeing the rainy day cavalcade at
Yes.
Magic Kingdom. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes, and that was one of the things. If I feel like there's, you can still see a part of the parade. Not everything is gone when it's rainy, as long as there's no lightning. But that's a fun thing to do at Magic Kingdom for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a great spot, and it's something different that you don't see every day. So it's nice, like it's almost exciting when that comes out, because it's like, well, you can see the parade. Maybe from the prospect of someone who goes to Disney World quite often, it's fun to see that because you don't see it every day. But if I can imagine if someone was there on their once a year trip and this was the one day they had at Magic Kingdom, maybe it would not be as exciting. But for me, it's definitely exciting because it's not something that you see every day. But it does. It's nice when it happens.
Hmm. Yes, I
Now,
feel like ducking
go
in
ahead.
the aquarium is usually a bad idea because everybody goes.
That's what we were just talking about. The
Okay,
Emporium.
sorry,
It
I
really,
missed that.
really, any gift shop is a bad idea,
Right,
because those aisles, they get really
that's where
small
people
really
go.
fast, and people are wet. They're stinky. They've been running in the heat all day. They're miserable because they're wet. Like, people have these ponchos on, which make them bigger because these ponchos are huge. Speaking of that, I just thought of another location at Epcot, which would be the Land. The Land is another
Mhm.
great spot. I
Right.
mean, there's so many spots at Epcot. It's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
There's so many that has to be like the top, because I mean, I can think of places at Magic Kingdom like Tomorrowland Terrace and things like that, but Epcot really has a ton of spots just to kind of wait it out. So it's
It really
definitely.
does. And
Mhm.
there's lots of activities, like I said, Nemo with the big aquarium, the land, like all there are several things housed within that building too that you can do. So it,
And the
it
same
is
thing with the
it really
land.
is a deal.
You got the two attractions in there, plus a nice spot to
Yeah.
sit. If you want to grab a light refreshment, you can. Uh, do
Hmm.
the boat ride twice. Just whatever it's going to take, because you don't want to go back upstairs to find out it's still raining and come back down.
Now,
So
the
Right.
only thing that I will caution you on, if you do the boat ride, because I have experienced this, and this is not a dig at Disney in any way, shape, or form, but if you do the boat ride and it is pouring rain, there is a chance that you might get some rain on you, because the in the greenhouse section, it does leak ever so slightly sometimes. I've actually seen it. It's actually happened to me. Um, to that effect too, and again, I'm not trying to discredit Disney anyway. I mean, these are older pavilions, I understand, but um, on Spaceship Earth, I've had incidents with the rain too. Like at the very top, when you get to where you see Earth and everything else, I've gotten wet there too. Like droplets have fallen on me, and I assume it's from the rain outside. I mean that the fact that build. I mean, I'm sure they probably fixed it by now, but I mean, I'm not the only one that has reported that. But I have noticed that. But I mean, that building is the way the way that it works and the way the water is supposed to go through the tiles and everything else, I mean, it does a really efficient job with what it does. But there is some, there was. I shouldn't say there was. But I mean, they're old buildings. They've been there since 1982. So I have no fault to Disney. It just happens over time, and you know. But just be mindful.
I think the biggest thing with the rain is you can't necessarily plan for it, but you can count on it. You booked your trip a year in advance, and all of a sudden you had no idea this was going to be the worst rain on record. Be ready to pivot. Don't overdo it. Please stop going to the dollar store and buying the ponchos. Those are terrible plastic bags. It's basically
might as well just wear a trash bag.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily buy the $20. I don't know how much the ponchos are at Disney, $8-9. Amazon, you can get even a real raincoat with some pockets, so it's more functional than trying to find things underneath poncho.
Mm-hmm.
Consider walking around the rain. If you are getting caught, because there are days, especially this past season, floods, like the whole darn park flooded. And people were trying.
I was just about to say that.
Night. It's a river, and at night heading back, that's one thing. But if you're going to spend the rest of the shoes and socks, and you don't have a change of clothes, and you can't go back in a backpack. I've seen people carrying ridiculous amounts of clothes, and it's things they never even touch. You're not leaving the planet. You're going to amusement park for a couple of hours.
In the summertime, at the worst thing about being at a park when it's flooded like that, because it does happen, and it's not Disney's fault in any way, shape, or form. It's not like a drainage issue or anything like that. It literally, what happens is plants and other debris from the plants pile up on the drains and then block the drains, and then it floods. And then eventually, a maintenance, a custodial worker will go over there, clear the drain, and then it drains, and then it's back to normal. But it does happen. I've seen it happen tons of times. It happens every time, pretty much. But I will tell you, in the summertime, it really pays to wear Crocs with no socks or sandals, because if it is going to pour rain, the last thing that you want to be doing is walking around in wet socks and wet shoes. That is absolutely the worst. You will wind up at the end of the day with shriveled up feet. It'll be painful. It'll be very uncomfortable. It is the absolute worst feeling I can think of. Honestly, it just it because the thing is, like, once it happens, you just keep going. But like I said, if you wear Crocs or sandals where they can kind of, I actually have a pair of sandals that have holes in the side of them, so if water does get on them, it kind of drains out, and specifically for that purpose, because when I go to the parks in the summer months and it rains, it does flood, and that does happen. But to Michael's point, I highly suggest, get a nice rain jacket, one that can really protect you. Maybe wear shorts, or even, heck, even wear, for guys and girls, some sort of bathing suit bottom that, that's like shorts, like board shorts or something that can dry rather quickly, and just kind of brave it and go. I mean, it's, the amount of time that it actually rains, in the summertime, 30 minutes, even when it rains in January, it may rain for heavy for like an hour, and then it'll sprinkle the rest of the day. So if you have a decent raincoat, you have some sort of gear or tire that won't get soaking wet and be miserable to be in, by all means wear that and just enjoy your day and just walk around, because that's just that's just part of Florida. And the other thing that I will tell you, and this always has driven me wild, and I still don't understand it to this day. If you are at a water park and it starts pouring rain, you don't have to run. You are already wet. Please do not run. You are already wet. You've been in the water for hours. If there's lightning, by all means, take shelter. I'm not telling you not to take shelter if there's lightning. Please, for the love of God, take shelter. but you were already wet. Like it's crazy. Like I'll be in the wave pool, the rain will start coming down, and everyone runs and leaves, and I'm like the only one sitting in there, and I'm like, why are we leaving? We're already in a pool. Like,
Yep.
what's the
Exactly.
difference?
And you're running back to the bus that is going to be chilly as heck because it was chilly on the way there, and now you're wet and it's chilly. Even worse, all the way back to your resort.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it time and time again, just like that. People run.
Well, the thing is too, it's not even. It's go ahead. I'll say my point after you, Lisa.
No. I just say it starts raining, and everybody packs up and leaves from a water park when you're already soaked. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
especially in when it's hot.
And the thing is, people run not just leaving the parks, but they run to one of two places. They either run to the lockers to get changed and shower and whatever else, or two, they run to these, because at the water parks there's little like gazebos conveniently placed around the parks that can house like 4 or 5 families under them. Like a Typhoon Lagoon, they have these little overhangs where you can kind of like hang out, and there could be like maybe 4 or 5 families in there, and that's it. And then you see all these people in these gazebos huddled together tight, like it's like like it's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, now you're standing in this little gazebo tight with this other family, like trying to avoid the rain. It's just like, honestly, like what I suggest, if you're gonna go to water park, get a locker, because you don't want to. I mean, I see so many people just leave their stuff out at the water parks, like their phones, everything. They just put them in a bag and leave them at a chair, and then go do whatever. Don't do that. You will get things. So I mean, I was that person until I got something stolen, and then I'm not that person anymore. People will steal your stuff. I mean, steal is not the right word. They may have done it on accident. Who knows? But things will be missing. Get a locker. Put your things in a locker. Whatever you don't mind getting wet, bring it on your person, and then just go. If you really need your phone and you really want to take photos and videos, then by all means go buy one of those holders that you put your phone in and it keeps it dry. But just bring your stuff with you, and then just, if it rains, it rains. And unless it's lightning, if there's lightning, then by all means, you definitely don't want to be a human lightning rod. Go under shelter. I can appreciate that I can have respect for, because you hear all kinds of stories. But if it's just raining, there's no sense in going and running and acting like your day is over.
Well, you don't want to get wet.
Right.
Another thing,
great days at the parks when it was raining.
Yes.
And would I have set out to go, oh yes, it's raining, let me go to Disney? No, probably not. However, ended up being really enjoyable. The kids loved it. It wasn't bad. So
you always remember the rainy days, because those are the most adventurous. You remember the puddle. There's always something that you remember. Like, I can remember in my head one time I went to Typhoon Lagoon and it rained and the park basically cleared out. And I'm like, I don't understand this. We've got 2 more hours, but hey, it stopped raining. I'm going to go on all the attractions and not wait in line, because everyone left because it was raining. And like, I don't understand that, but hey, if that's what you want to do, then by all means, more fun for me. So, rainy days are fun.
You have to keep in mind, a lot of times the resorts will pull out activities indoors too. So if you are heading back to your resort, or if you are trapped at the resort and you can't leave yet because of the rain, look into the activities, look into the community room, see what they have going on for the kids to keep people entertained, because they don't want people being upset and miserable because they're trapped indoors because of the rain. They know they have to keep them entertained. Same way they cancel the one parade but pull out the cavalcade. They're doing that to keep people's spirits up, to keep them engaged. So if you're stuck at the resort, don't look at it as being stuck. See what's going on. Plan some of the indoor activities to explore. Hang out in your room and just chill for a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Go
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just had a funny story. One of the funniest moments I've ever had at any Disney park. I was 16 with my mom, my uncle, and my brother at Epcot. Well, it was raining. We bought the yellow. We all had the yellow. You remember the yellow with Mickey on the back ponchos. So now I know they're clear and they don't look the same. But back then, so you had this sea of people in yellow ponchos. So we all stopped at the bathrooms. I think they were over the ones over by Test Track. There were all these little frogs all over the ground. I guess the rain just brought out the frogs. I don't know. So everybody was bending over, looking at these frogs, especially my brother. So he was 12 at the time. So my uncle came out of the bathroom, came over, found me, found my mom, and all of a sudden he thought he found my brother. Well, in fact, he did not. The kid that he picked up was someone else's kid.
Oh my gosh.
And that other dad went, almost a fight. But then my brother
Wow.
looked over. He was like 2 feet over. He just picked up the wrong kid. Mistaken
Oh my
identity
gosh.
because of yellow ponchos and frogs on the ground. So, anyways, that was one of the funniest things. Here I'm way past 16 now, but that still makes me laugh.
Near child abduction that your family was involved in. Fantastic.
No, isn't
There's a
that
statute
nice?
of limitation. She's clear now.
Okay.
But I still think about, that rainy day we were at Epcot. That was hilarious. Anyways, all right, sorry. I just had to tell you my
No,
funny rainy
that
day
was a
story.
great story. You know what? I'm gonna kick before I make my point. I'm gonna ask Michael if he has any cool stories like that. Maybe don't involve child abduction, but
Yeah, I mean, outside of child abduction, I have no other stories. I mean, all my stories always end with a child abduction and a police chase. No, I mean, we've never. I mean, I've been there in the rain. We just made the most of it. I can't remember anything that has stood out. Like you said, in California, because there's so many local. I think if it rains, you just leave and come back tomorrow. Yeah. Walt Disney World, you don't have that luxury of just leaving and coming back tomorrow. Necessarily, you can go back to your resort, but it's not going to be as comfortable as home.
Well,
you don't
at Disneyland,
the
weather in Southern California, when it rains in Southern California, it usually generally rains all day, and they literally, when it rains, they have problems out there. They have mudslides, like things happen. Like it's not a good experience for them to. For me as a Floridian, I don't get it, but I mean I get it, but I don't get it because I'm used to having so much rain. But out there, they have rain and they have problems. So, Disneyland. I mean, everywhere you go in California, it's a completely different world. At least for me, because everything is outdoor seating. There's way more outdoor seating at a restaurant than there is indoor seating because the weather is nice most of the time throughout the year. It's pleasant outside, and 2, it doesn't rain, so they can do that. And at Disneyland, a lot of the attractions, things like, for example, the teacups. The teacups have no roof like they do here in Orlando. It's just open. So, these attractions are literally shut down. And I remember the first time I went to Disneyland, we were there for a week. And one day it did rain. And I was like shocked at the amount of attractions that were closed. I mean, like 60-70% of the park was closed, and I was like, what is going on? So I mean, I get it now, but it at the time it didn't make sense. But yeah, that definitely does happen out there. The weather, it just doesn't rain that often, so when it does happen, I mean, it's not an all the time thing. But then again, to your point out here, we get a lot of flooding, especially in Magic Kingdom. It definitely floods, Main Street, Tomorrowland, those areas. They do fill up with water, and you got to be careful where you step because they do get flooding in some of those areas. And like I said, if you've got those nice shoes on with the socks, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. And I've done that. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I've done that. I've spent the whole day and walked around in the wet socks and toughed it out and done that, and it's not a pleasant experience. It's part like everyone, like, people from other parts of the country or other parts of the world kind of make fun of me because I always like pack extra clothes when it's gonna be a rainy day, and I'm just like, you never know. Like, I put clothes in my car. I'm like, I might be going back to my car to change a shirt later when it stops raining, or change pants or something. I don't know what it's gonna be like, because you never know, like, if you're gonna get soaked or what's gonna happen. And then, or I just wear a bathing suit to the park and a shirt, and change my shirt or something, because you never know, like, if it's going to, how much you're going to get wet when you're there. It just a monsoon for so quick, and you don't know where you're gonna be. You can't, you can kind of set your watch to it because it's in the afternoon, but you don't know the exact time it's gonna happen. So depending on where you are, you might be running through the rain to get to wherever you need to be. So always be prepared.
Just like a good Boy Scout, right? Always be prepared.
Exactly.
The rain in Florida is definitely a different experience in the summer. Here in Indiana, it rains all day. Like, it's hardly ever just a quick little shower. we get the Florida winter rains, where it starts at 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning, and it's all day. But I was thinking, even just going back a little bit to your comments about Disneyland, the attractions are outside, the queues are outside.
Yeah.
Like, you are just outside most of the day. To find a place to hide, you may have to go to, like, Disney Springs or downtown Disney in California. That's another, and then we didn't bring that up, but sometimes, going outside the parks, touring the resorts, or going to Disney Springs, you may be in and out of different buildings, but that might be a good day to do some shopping.
And I always had a car. Every time I came down as a non-local, I always rented a car. I'm not dealing with the buses. It was so much easier. Yeah. And it did open up things for me to do. So if it did rain, I had an umbrella, and I would hit as many of the resorts as I could. And I would go into the gift shop and just walk around, spend 20 minutes.
Well, if you're at Epcot or Magic Kingdom, you can just take the monorail back to the resorts and just do those, hang out at Contemporary, hang out at the Grand Floridian. Those are excellent places to hang out. Go in and get some food, or just sit in the lobby and enjoy the area for a while, and then take the monorail back to the park. But I'm telling you, if you find a way to hold out and wait out the rain, there's a like 90% chance that when you get back to the park, it'll be a lot more empty than when it was when you were there before, because everyone just kind of darts in there, and when people get wet, they don't want to go back out. So there's a good chance that you might even be set for the rest of the night. Or especially in the summertime when Magic Kingdom is open till midnight, because they do have nights like that. If you have a storm at, say, 7 or 8 o'clock, I mean, that will literally clear out the park. I mean, there will be, you might have some people that try to tough it out for the fireworks, but then people are like worried that there may not be fireworks, so they don't tough it out. So people won't stay, and then the rides just become empty, and you can walk on everything.
And that's when you do need some sort of a poncho, no longer for you, but to sit on. Because I've even gone to the concerts in Epcot in the rain, and the benches are now wet, and you can't possibly carry back enough paper towel to dry that seat after the rain. So I've used the poncho, turn it inside out if I'm not using it for the rest of the day, and that helps me sit on these wet spots. You try sitting on Mine Train, you try sitting on any ride that's open, those seats are going to be wet for the rest of the night until enough people sit on it and dry it with their wet pants anyway. So consider the rides you're going to ride for the rest of the night, and let everything dry off. Do carry the paper towel to kind of dry it off those seats.
That's a really great idea. I never thought about that, because that is a really good idea. Bringing the poncho is a fantastic idea. Even just to sit on, because he's right. Even just the benches and walking around World Showcase that are out there get wet. So you're definitely gonna want something to keep, dry when you sit down, because once it stops, I mean, I'm telling you, it will clear out, no matter what park you're at.
Yep.
More so probably at like a Animal Kingdom or a Hollywood Studios, just because, like we said, there's not a lot of places for you to go and just sit and kind of be in a big space and wait it out. But like at an Epcot or a Magic Kingdom, absolutely.
And it depends, because you have so many different kind of parents. You have the ones who are, I spent tens of thousands of dollars and we're not leaving this park and we're riding every darn ride until we get out. I don't care about the rain. Shut up and keep marching. Then you have the parents who want to get their kids out of the wet clothes. And the only way to do that might be to go back to the room. And now if you're tired, it's a good time to close your eyes 10 minutes. And like you said, maybe you don't head back to the park. So it's a mix of everyone. You can't count on everyone leaving, but hopefully enough people do that you can spend the rest of the night if you're one of those people that's going to hang out. I've always gone back to the resort, close my eyes for a half, and then, figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. But I mean, I go enough times. If that's your once in a lifetime trip, and 3 of your 7 days or 3 of your 5 days are all rain, you're either going to go make the most of it and you go home sick and, health be damned, or you got to figure out, what am I going to do? Because I already bought the tickets. Disney is not going to reimburse me. They may push them again, but I don't know when I'm going to bring the family back. And I have these 3 unused passes. What are we going to do with them? What did I do for those 3 days that I flew all the way to Florida for that I couldn't have done at home? So there's so many variables there.
Yeah. And the and you'd be amazed at the line of people that are at the entrance or at the guest relations trying to get a refund for their day's ticket. So, and it happens at Walt Disney World, it happens at Universal. I will say though, speaking of rain, out of all these Central Florida theme parks that we have in Central Florida, not just Orlando, but in Central Florida, the Busch Gardens, if you are coming here and you are planning to go to Busch Gardens, be very mindful of the weather, because if it is going to be a very bad stormy day and it's going to last for a period of time in the afternoon, keep in mind that they are prone to shutting down the park. If they know that it's coming, they will shut down the park early and do like a half day. Normally, they're open till, well, in the summertime, they're open till 8 or whatever, 9. But sometimes they'll shut down early because they have everything. All of their major attractions are outdoor roller coasters. So they can't run those during the rain, and they don't want people in their parks. I mean, I will never forget this. I was in Busch Gardens once, and literally like a tornado warning went off right as we were in the park. And they made an announcement on the loudspeaker all across the park, basically telling everyone to run and get into a building. There's a tornado warning. I was like, okay. And I'm sure, like, when you're from certain parts of the country, you take those things more seriously. Like if you're in the Midwest, you take those things more seriously because they happen a lot. In Florida, like, we get tornado warnings a lot, but the amount of tornadoes that I've actually seen in Florida, I've seen more water spouts than I've seen tornadoes. So like, I wasn't freaking out, but there's people like running into shops and things like that. But that same within 5 minutes of that happening, and I was under some kind of covering, I did see lightning strike inside the park. Like, it was close to where I was. So that was kind of a little jarring, but just keep that in mind. SeaWorld too, for that matter. They have been known, like, if it's going to get really bad, to do sort of the same thing, kind of shut down halfway through the day. It doesn't happen as often as Busch Gardens, but SeaWorld, it does happen. Universal, I've never seen them shut down unless it's like, they're like Disney, unless it's like a major hurricane or something. They're not going to shut down for the day. They may readjust what they're offering for the day, but they don't really shut down. So you can go over there and those SeaWorld and Universal, they have a lot lot of spaces where you can kind of hang out. Depending on what park you're at, there's a lot of shops, and they have some big restaurants, and then of course SeaWorld has some big stadiums that you can kind of go in and hang out and kind of dodge the rain for a while. So there's a lot of spaces there. Speaking of those parks, but yeah, but that does happen.
I would imagine Legoland is probably the same thing because a lot of that is outdoor attractions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, most of Legoland is outdoor attractions. They do have a couple indoor attractions, but as far as I've seen, because I live very close to Legoland, it is that I've never seen them close. I mean, Legoland typically close. I mean, Legoland is geared towards younger kids, so it's a rarity when the park is open past 5 o'clock. They don't stay open past 5 most of the year, and sometimes throughout the year. There was a period in time where they were closing the park like 2 days a week, when it was like super slow, but they don't do that anymore. But typically 4 or 5 o'clock is when that park shuts down. And then in the summertime it's open a little later to make 7 or 8 o'clock. But yeah, I've never seen them shut down for the weather, like close early for the weather. But they do shut down a lot of their attractions because most of it is outdoors, or a lot of it is outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope we gave folks a lot of ideas on rainy days here.
I think
lots of rainy day ideas. Yeah. I like it.
We gave out all our best tips.
See, for me, if it's raining, I just don't go. But, that's just me.
Now, speaking of rainy day tips, us pass holders are going to have a nice, shiny new lounge to be sitting in when it rains for the month of May. I'm very excited about that at Restaurant Marrakesh. I don't know what is going to be in there. I am hopeful that maybe they have some sort of beverages or something like that for us pass holders, because we've spent quite a penny on our passes. So a nice cold beverage water would be fine, and I'd hope for something a little more than that, but that would be nice because they've had that before when I've been in lounges in that space. But they have a lot of benches and chairs in there, and there's supposedly going to be a lot of charging plugs in there for you, so that'll be nice.
It's got to be better than the last pass holder lounge where we got to sit out with the common folk in the land and stare at the empty water cooler that they never seem to refill and munch on our stale Halloween candy from October. And boy, those M&Ms were terrible. And I just need a cup of water to wash them down. What do you mean it's empty? Fill the water.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, because they've already, like I said, they've run a lounge out of here before. I think it was the Blue Lounge or the Mara Health Lounge at one point, right?
I will say that out of all the parks, the park that takes care of the pass holders the most is when it comes to the pass holders lounge, our pass holders area is the is SeaWorld. The SeaWorld parks, they do it. I mean, Universal is catching up. I believe they have a pass holder lounge now. I'll find out soon when I renew my Universal pass here soon. I'll find out about that. But SeaWorld does an amazing job because not only do they have an amazing pass holder lounge with a soda machine in there, like 2 soda machines in there, like you can have whatever you want. But they give you so many discounts and other things when you become a pass holder that I was like tallying up everything I got just this month from SeaWorld, and the value of everything that I got just this month pretty much paid for my pass for the whole year. And that's just in 1 month. Every month I get new bonuses. So by the time I'm done, I'll have a lot more than what I actually spent for the pass.
Nice.
So
pays for itself.
So definitely keep that in mind. But that being said, did anyone have any last thoughts on this before we close on this topic?
No, I miss the days of the park emptying out for the rain and having the place, not to yourself, but pretty darn close. So maybe even inspired me to go on a rainier day, especially in the evening. I think during the day people wouldn't stick it out, but like you said, if it's Uh, so we mentioned tornado warning going off. So
Yeah, I see that too.
yep. But yeah, during the day you'd be more inclined to maybe return to the park, but if it's that late in the evening, as you said, that's the best time to walk around.
Yeah.
Not after hours, but after it clears out and it's a little darker. Maybe you have another 2 hours left. You can ride so much in that time.
And one last thing I want to say too. We didn't really touch on Disney Springs, but I can honestly tell you that I've really thought about this the entire show. I don't know what your thoughts, Michael or Lisa, on this is, but I can't think of really any spaces at Disney Springs where there's like a big space where you can just kind of sit and not be outdoors, unless you're in a shop or something. But then again, those shops fill up so fast when it rains because everyone goes into them, and they're just people standing there at the door waiting for the rain to stop. The same with like World of Disney, all the shops there. So, and the restaurants are already packed, and Disney Springs is packed to begin with. There's never a moment when Disney Springs is not packed. I have not been to Disney Springs in the last 2 or 3 years where it has not been wall to wall people. I mean, I would love to, sometime I have to go like in the morning and just try to take a stroll around there when there's no one there. That would be enjoyable.
I think it's fun actually early in the morning and late at night when things are clearing out. But there's things like Splitsville that you can do. Like there's several restaurants that again, if you're just waiting out a summer rain, a mealtime 30 minutes to an hour, you would think would cover that rain time.
Yeah.
But like you said, World of Disney is very full, but there are a lot of other, think about the covered area where the shops are at Disney Springs. I always go to like Vera Bradley. I was trying to think what else.
Yeah, of course. The oh man, I can't think of the name of it now, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Right next to, right there, like next to the Wolfgang Puck restaurant, like that, that little like brick building there. Yes. Know exactly what you're talking about. That's a great space, but it's not like, it's more of a thoroughfare, and it's not meant for people to hang out. And then the problem with Splitsville is, now you make reservations for the lanes. So it's not something where you can essentially just walk in and get a lane. So a lot of the things to do at Disney Springs require an advanced reservation. And that's like, and even the restaurants. So like, you have to go to like a counter service or something.
But I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I almost said it earlier. But I find one of the best times to get last minute reservations for places that you normally can't is when it's a rainy day, because people don't stay or they cancel. So I've had pretty good luck with that. And then also there's, the AMC theater at Disney Springs too. So if people have a couple hours where they, the rain's coming in, it's going to leave, but they can go watch a movie.
One great store I've had luck with, Coca-Cola store. It's huge. You have all those different floors. There's a lot more space. You don't have as many people as you do packing into World of Disney. A lot of neat stuff in there. It's just float. You can kill in a half hour in there very, very easily. So it's another, out of the way place that people don't think walking past it. So.
Right. And we have several pictures with Coca-Cola Bear. So that's always fun to do that too. Something a little extra.
And it doesn't cost any money to do that either. You can just walk in there and just get in line and see the bear. Excellent picks. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. I certainly appreciate you guys joining us this week, Lisa and Michael, for being here. I apologize for the technical issues at the beginning of the show. We are kind of a work. Sometimes the tech is just not in my favor, and today was one of those days. But we will definitely get all that buttoned up for you for next week's show. But we certainly appreciate you guys joining us. We certainly appreciate all of you watching live here. I see we've had people on YouTube and Facebook watching us live, so certainly appreciate all of you joining us and watching us live on YouTube. We do it every Tuesday night at 8:30 is when we start our show, and then we also do every Friday at 5 p.m. is when you can catch our podcast live on your favorite podcast streaming platform. So be sure to look out for us there. With that being said, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. We certainly appreciate everyone who joined this week, and we will see you guys next week.
Good night, and thank you everyone in the chat. Have a good night to you too.
Yes, thank you, RetroPlink in the chat, for joining us this week. We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, everyone.